go out in the community and try to find a diversified group of people that represent every stratification in the homeless community, not merely stereotypes, not merely certain marginalized groups, but any number of people that are homeless now, because the homeless community is so large and diverse and not one-dimensional. So the first thing that you would do if you were going to form your own AHAC group is to go out and get as many different kinds of homeless people as possible, including people that are physically disabled, people from marginalized communities from historical circumstances in the United States, people who are not so disabled but are waylaid by drug addictions, which are usually rooted in family of origin violence and whatnot, and as many different kinds of people as possible. And that way, that the group itself is respected by the wider community, the wider homeless community that's not actually on the committee. If they can see that they're represented on the committee, then their interests are going to be represented on the committee. They'll feel like they are they're being represented and they have a voice. And I think the whole thing actually lends a sort of rehabilitative aspect, that people can do this and do something productive, and just like in my circumstances, getting out of self-pity, getting out of self-indulgence, and getting out of negative behavior patterns, and doing something productive on behalf of other people, being part of something bigger than yourself. And for me, AHAC is something that's bigger than any of us, and it's been having a manifold benefits in the city of Austin, and any other city could benefit from having a community doing feedback for in terms of the homeless experience, or what when this was in the city manager's office, what they called lived experience, that we're consultants of lived experience, and we know how things are more so than someone who hasn't experienced indigence, who hasn't experienced an abusive childhood, who hasn't experienced any of these things, that we would bring lived experience to the table, and that's pretty much all I have with that.
Trying to form a group like AHAC, I think the most important part would be canvassing and letting people know what the group is, and then just keeping an open mind and accepting all kinds of diverse people.
Things I would recommend to any city that's wanting to start something like what we have here in Austin, AHAC, would be really be committed to it, to whichever direction it takes, and the longevity that it may take. When we started out in our group, everybody was homeless. I don't believe that was a person that had housing at that time. And there are issues that come to the room, to the meeting, when you're dealing with people who are living in their homelessness. We had one elderly man that had a lot of different physical issues, and he had gotten his housing pretty much right when we began, and he was the only one with shelter. And so the reality is that when you get people that are not sheltered, our anxiety level is a lot higher. Our ability to focus is a lot limited, and anger and any other behavior that you can think of that could be triggered by homelessness is in the room with you. And if you haven't considered that beforehand, and also considered humanitarian-wise, there ought to be an agenda that you all have personally to want to help those people get through to the service providers that they'll need to help them in the uniqueness of their homelessness. Make sure you know your city's programming, so that as you deal with your people that make up your group, where they're pointing towards. And then I'd have to say, depending upon how humanitarian your whole group is in and of itself, be careful about becoming the caseworker, and be careful about getting too involved, because your goal, I would think, would want to be to get your group to a place of wholeness where they can share more, and they won't be just part of your real statistical data about what makes up your city. They will be people that feel empowered and focused to come in and to give you all what you need to expand your services, and or upgrade some that you may have.
First off, you got to make sure the city that you want to do this, there's a need. That's why most of you large cities, there is a need. But if you want to try to do it in a small town, it's not going to work. Second off, you got to have a compassion and saying, hey, I'm tired of this. There has to be something else. Like for me, it was storage. That's how I got on this boat. I saw a need and I pressed on to get on the boat. You got to also have a local government to see the need for this. If they do not see the need, you may not succeed.
My advice starting out a group like AHAC would be to hold the participants loyal to the keeping it down, because the one thing I've noticed about me even is we can get on a complaint system. We just want to use it to rant and rave. So you'd want to cut people off 3 more minutes maybe. But yeah, that's what I've noticed about AHAC. Some people used it as their way to complain, and that's really not what it's about. You aren't supposed to solve all of our problems. We're supposed to give you input, so yeah.
If I were to have other advice, or have advice for other communities to build something similar to AHAC, or something possibly even better, I would say the media would probably be a good source. The city, local, state, federal, at all levels, work with the media perhaps and build a sense of trust, and everybody network together. Once again, coming up with the word trust. Sometimes people are apprehensive to get involved on issues. It's happened to me as well.
The general advice I would have is to kind of circulate a flyer. It all depends on where you at. Circulate flyers in the homeless community, in places like where they serve food, where they have clothing vouchers, and then as far as different places where there are case managers at. So where, if there's a flyer up there, people gonna look at it and then they're gonna say, hey, I like to do that. Well, they can do this, but there's a procedure they have to go through first in order to see if they're the right fit. Because personally, that's what happened to me. But I was already not bragging or anything. I was already wanting to do something like this because I've been given so much. Care Thoughts and Front Steps have helped me out a lot. And I like to thank a few people if I can. I like to thank Laura Savine. She currently runs a sober house here in Austin. And, Jason, he's over at Care Thoughts. He currently helps me out. But, and I like to give a big shout out to Miss Joanne Quinn, Miss Kathy Joanne Quinn, because she's the head of Care Thoughts and she always makes sure that things are done right. So, in saying that, that's all I have to say. Good luck to you in starting your groups wherever you may be, and I wish you nothing but success.
I would think that for other communities that are trying to form groups like AHAC, get people that are knowledgeable, get people that are consistent, get people that are truthful. and you'll have a good combination.